Hi, this is Robin, and this is the kickoff video to 6 months to me. And I just wanted to kind of start and tell you what I'm thinking. I just got off an amazing summer. I'm a writer, and mostly what I write about is pioneer stuff and some Little House on the Prairie kind of things, like a biography of the three women who made up Nellie Oleson and that sort of thing. And so this last summer was the 150th anniversary of Laura Ingalls Wilder's birthday. So there were a bunch of special events that I was a part of and got to speak at and do some book signings and some other things. And it was a fantastic trip. But it was also almost 6,000 miles in a car. And for 4 of those weeks, I was alone. So my husband and youngest son came out for part of it, but for most of it I was alone, and that was made traveling a little bit easier in some ways, but it was also kind of hard because I've never been gone from home that long. So it was a little bit sad in that way, but it was a fantastic trip. Had a wonderful time, met a lot of great people, got to do some fun things, but also I got a lot of thinking time, because there is a lot of miles where there's not a whole lot to occupy your mind as you're driving through parts of South Dakota and Wyoming and Colorado and Kansas and all the places that I went with the 14 states. So I did get a lot of thinking in on this trip, and part of what I was thinking about is I'm kind of nearing the end of my 40s. And most of my married life, I have been the mother. I'm a mom of 4 kids. I've also been a foster mom, so I've had foster and adoptive and biological kids, and some have had special needs. And so it's been pretty much focused on kids. And not that I'm not focused on my kids anymore. My youngest, my 10-year-old's probably freaking out right now. It's just that I think I realized on this trip just how much of the me that I kind of used to be has gotten buried under kind of piles of laundry and errands and things, and just not taking care of myself, to be perfectly honest. And I just didn't want to go into my 50s like that. So I sort of, this little plan hatched, and I thought, what if I could be intentional for just 6 months? So give it a finite amount of time, just 6 months, to be intentional about taking care of 3 areas of my life that I feel like may or may not be slightly out of control. One of which is obviously the weight thing. Could use a little bit help in that area. So I'm going to be intentional. I have a couple of things. One is polycystic ovarian syndrome, another is a metabolic disorder. And I have kind of borderline diabetes, which runs in my family, and also a lot of people who have PCOS either develop it or are kind of borderline. And that's been in check, but I don't want to get any worse, and I want to reverse it. So that's part of the issue. But this is not just a weight loss journey, because I think not taking care of your body is often kind of symptomatic of other things that you're not taking care of. And part of that, for me, is my mind. Which kind of sounds a little scary, doesn't it? But what I really mean about that is I think that moms tend to not do self-care very well. And I've let some griefs that I've had, some just situations, just kind of, I put them to the back of my mind because I didn't have time to deal with them, to be perfectly honest. I was dealing with other fires and my kids' needs and taking care of a husband who is absolutely wonderful, by the way. And so I think it's time. I think it's time for me to kind of deal with those issues, because sometimes holding on to those griefs and not processing them fully can kind of infect other areas of your life. And the last area, so we've got weight and kind of mind clutter, but also just physical clutter. I feel like we've never had a time where our house was 100% organized. And I'm a hugely organized person, which is kind of weird to live in the house that I live in. And it causes me an enormous amount of stress. When my first two were girls, and when we'd say it's time to go, they would say, "Where are my keys? Where are my shoes?" And they were just mimicking something that I had said. Like every time we left, I didn't know where my keys were and I didn't know where my shoes were. So that should have been a red flag way back there. My oldest is now 21, so we still haven't gotten a great grip on that. But I just decided I'm kind of tired of maintaining stuff, and I'm trying to to find a way to be, obviously I'm not going to go live in a yurt with just, a mat on the floor and one cooking pot. That's not going to happen. But I think that there's a balance, and I haven't found it. So I'm going to look for that balance. And when I am spending less time maintaining my stuff, I think that my life will be more in balance. So that's at least the goal. And like I said, I'm giving myself 6 months. I'm not saying that I'm going to get there in 6 months, but I hope to be well on the road. And I'm going to take this time for me to really be intentional about addressing these 3 areas that kind of, I feel like, have just piled stuff on me so that who I really am isn't kind of out there. And I want to get back to the me that I kind of liked at one point, not the one who's always looking for her keys. So that's what 6 months to me is about. It's just going to be a journey. And I'm going to talk about and post how I'm sort of trying to address those areas and what's successful and what's not. I will hopefully be able to provide some links for you to maybe get some resources if one of these areas or all of them is something that perhaps you are struggling with as well. And I'm going to be brutally honest, because what's the point of taking a journey like this and not being brutally honest? And hopefully you'll find some encouragement. You'll find some camaraderie, because I know I'm not the only mom out here who feels a little bit like we're kind of the bottom of the pile. And that's not because, just a disclaimer here, my kids are awesome and my husband is an absolute saint. So I'm not saying I've got problems in those areas. My husband's awesome. It's that I think moms just tend to always put themselves last, and that's not what the people around them want them to do. It's just what we tend to do. So I'm going to kind of reverse that. I'm not saying that everybody else is going to fend for themselves for the next 6 months. That's not going to happen either. But I'm going to work for balance, and I am excited. I'm actually excited about some of the changes that I'm intending to make, and I'm going to see how that works. And you're going to see whether it works too, because I'm going to chronicle kind of every moment. And every week I will be posting on something that I'm doing intentionally in one of those 3 areas. So there'll be maybe an introductory kind of summary video, and then there'll be 3 other video and post combinations of when I address the weight thing, the mind thing, and the clutter thing, and what I'm actually doing to try to kind of reclaim my life. So that's what it is, 6 months to me. And if you want to join me, that'd be great. I'd love to be encouraged by your journey, and certainly comment, ask questions, and if there's anything that we can kind of support each other on, I am all about that. So you guys have a good week, be blessed, and I will talk to you soon.